I married knowing the relationship was doomed, but stayed for the comfortable life her income provided. After years of resentment and her past infidelities, I chose to sabotage the marriage with my own affairs. The divorce freed me, and I'm better off now that I grew up in a small, forgotten town. The kind of place where people don't dream very loudly, because dreaming too big feels like tempting fate. Most people stayed there their whole lives, doing what their parents did, living the way their grandparents lived. It wasn't a bad place, but it was a place where life felt predetermined, and why family didn't have much. We lived simply paycheck to paycheck, always one unexpected bill away from real trouble. I learned early how fragile stability can be and how much it shapes the way you see the world. For a long time, I believed I'd follow the same path as everyone else around me. But somehow, maybe stubbornness, maybe luck, I got into university that IT felt like a door opening into a world I didn't know existed. Suddenly, everything was new. People from different backgrounds, ideas I had never heard of, possibilities I didn't even know to imagine. And that's where I met her. She walked into my life like she carried her own gravity. Brilliant, confident, charismatic, the kind of person people turn to look at without even realizing they were doing it. She was not just smart. She was strikingly aware, able to read a room and understand people in a way that felt almost unnerving at times. But behind all that intensity was something fragile, unresolved, and deeply human that we connected almost immediately. Two people with very different backgrounds, but somehow similar wounds. She had her demons, emotional instability, impulsivity, a constant battle between wanting closeness and pushing it away. I had mine, insecurity from growing up poor, fear of losing the first person who ever made me feel chosen. Together, we formed a bond that felt powerful, consuming, and, though I didn't know it then, dangerous. Early in the relationship, she confessed something that would shape everything that followed. She told me she had been unfaithful, not once, not twice, many times that IT felt like the ground shifted under me. But I was young, overwhelmed by love, and terrified of losing her. I convinced myself that forgiveness was the mature thing, that love meant enduring pain, that what mattered was the future we could build. I stayed. And once you stay after something like that, you teach yourself to tolerate things you shouldn't. Years later, we got married, and I remember standing there, looking at her, feeling both love and fear. Even as I said, yes, a quiet voice inside me whispered, "You're making a mistake. You know this won't last." But I shut it out. I wanted the life we could have, a life that felt stable, successful, safe. Growing up with nothing makes you cling hard to anything that feels like security. And for a while, things looked good. We built a high-income life, the kind of lifestyle I'd only ever seen in movies. Travel, nice restaurants, a beautiful home, professional success. It all looked so polished on the outside. People who saw us probably thought we had it all figured out. But inside the marriage, there were cracks. Cracks that never healed because we never really addressed the past. Why resentment never fully went away. Her emotional struggles never truly disappeared. Over the years, her instability returned. At first, it was small things, unpredictable mood swings, arguments that came out of nowhere, cold silences that lasted days. But gradually, things escalated. She became more volatile, more distant, and eventually turned to alcohol. What had once felt like an intense, passionate bond slowly dissolved into emotional chaos. Our home felt less like a partnership and more like two exhausted people trying not to set each other off. We stopped communicating. We stopped connecting. Sometimes it felt like we were living separate lives under the same roof one day. I remember this vividly. I woke up and realized I felt absolutely nothing. Not anger, not love, not hope. Just emptiness. 15 years into the marriage, and it felt like I'd spent the last decade walking on emotional eggshells. That's when something inside me shifted, that I stopped caring about holding everything together. I stopped trying to fix what had been broken for too long. A part of me, a tired, worn-out part, decided that if she had taken something from me years ago with her infidelity, I no longer owed the marriage blind loyalty. I began looking outside the marriage for what I felt I no longer had: connection, attention, a sense of being seen. I'm not proud of it, but at the time, it felt like survival. Some relationships were brief. Others were emotionally hollow. They were escapes, temporary breaks from the exhaustion inside my own home. Then I met someone during a work conference. She was younger, married herself, and equally lost. What started as late-night conversations turned into something deeper. The connection lasted far longer than I intended, more than a year. Eventually, that relationship revealed the truth I had been avoiding. My marriage wasn't a marriage anymore. It was an arrangement held together by habit and fear of change. When everything came out, the marriage collapsed quickly. There were tears, accusations, long, painful conversations about betrayal. Hers, mine, ours. But beneath it all, there was also something like acceptance. We both knew it was over. The divorce that followed was difficult, like all divorces are, but also brought clarity. For the first time in 15 years, I had space to think about what I wanted, not just what I needed to do to keep someone else from falling apart. Through the settlement, I gained financial stability I had never known. I paid off debts, bought a home, reorganized my life. I rebuilt my career with more focus than ever before. I traveled. I learned to enjoy silence again. Eventually, I met someone new, someone who didn't bring chaos but calm. Someone whose presence didn't feel like walking into a storm. My ex-wife, unfortunately, spiraled after the separation. The emotional battles she had been fighting for years grew stronger. Her dependency on alcohol worsened. She lost her career, then her sense of stability. Watching from the outside was painful, but I knew I couldn't save her. Not anymore, not after all the years I had tried. Looking back now, I don't regret leaving the marriage. What I regret is how long I stayed in something that was breaking both of us. Today, I am finally living a life that feels like my own. A life not shaped by fear, resentment, or survival, but by clarity, by peace, by choice. And for the first time in a long time, the future doesn't feel like something to brace myself for.
Second story. I found someone had pushed their car into my brand new bumper at my niece's graduation. I lost my temper, punctured their tires, and expected disaster. But when I checked my car later, the bumper was perfectly fine. Sometimes the universe fixes things for you. I've always prided myself on being a responsible adult. At 54, with a master's degree and a long-standing professional career, people expect me to act right. But once upon a time, I was feral, not the cute kind, but the kind that got into trouble from age 11 through my early 20s. No criminal record, thankfully, but enough chaos to keep life interesting. Those instincts never fully vanish. They just lie dormant until the right moment. That day, my niece was graduating high school. The venue was a swarm of people, honking cars, and frantic parents. Finding a parking spot felt like winning a small lottery, but luck was on my side. At the end of the row, away from prying eyes, I parked my car. No one could squeeze in beside me. No one could block me in. It was a tiny private victory, and I beamed as I made my way to the ceremony. After the ceremony, the family planned to celebrate at a nearby restaurant. I walked back to my car, still replaying the graduation speeches in my head. And then, I froze. Someone had pulled directly in front of my car, backing in so close that their bumper was actually shoved into mine. A good 3 inches. My first brand new car. My baby. My pride and joy. And now, crumpled. Or so. I thought in 5 seconds, I went from proud aunt to incandescent rage. I knew calling the cops wouldn't help at a private lot, and the next graduation would start soon. Waiting for the culprit to return felt pointless. Leaving a note seemed futile. And then, something deep inside me, the version of myself I thought I had left behind decades ago, whispered, "Take matters into your own hands." I reached for the pocket knife I keep in my car, just in case. My hands trembled, not from fear but from raw, unfiltered fury. In a moment of impulse, I punctured the tires of the offending car. 1, 2, air hissing out like steam from a kettle.
Loud.
Messy. Unapologetic. I closed my door and drove off, my heartbeat loud in my ears, still hot with it, still riding the adrenaline wave. When I arrived at the restaurant, I needed a moment before joining the celebration. I went back to check my bumper, bracing myself for the worst. But nothing.
No dent. No scrap.
No trace of the collision. Somehow, the bumper had popped back out, perfectly aligned, as if nothing had happened, and I stood there, baffled, half laughing, half relieved. My old instincts had resurfaced, yet I hadn't needed them. The universe, karma, or maybe just car engineering had fixed things for me. No confrontation, no revenge required. That day taught me something about myself. The feral part of me never truly disappears. It's there, ready to flare up at the slightest provocation. But sometimes, life intervenes in subtle ways, and the energy you think you need to expend becomes unnecessary. Old instincts die hard, but sometimes they don't have to.